Okay, in this video I just wanted to talk about C4K, DCI, UHD and 4K in general and what the differences are and sort of where you might want to use certain ones. And DCI and C4K are essentially interchangeable. They're both the same sort of file size, and standard 4K and UHD are essentially the same thing as well. So DCI or 4K is the type of footage that is used in kind of film, so you get that kind of letterboxing effect, and it generally it's sort of outside of what we would generally shoot in, because what we're used to shooting in is the kind of widescreen 16:9. So for UHD or standard 4K, that's what we're shooting in. We've got that 16:9 kind of aspect ratio, and that's what we're used to seeing. And when we're shooting in C4K or DCI, we've got that additional kind of space on the edges on the left and right of the frame. So what happens is we end up just with that slightly kind of slimmer looking frame, and we end up with that letterboxing top and bottom. So it does give it a little bit more of a kind of cinema look. And as I say, this is kind of typical in films, but you know, in general you'll probably want to be sticking to kind of 4K. But the reason I bring it up is because in some of the modes on the Lumix cameras, so particularly here we've got the GH6. Let me just see if I can actually get any focus on that. If we come into our under MOV, that's where we've got most of our options. If you don't know what I'm in here, it's just a quick menu. I'll link on how to kind of settle this up. But in our recording quality, you can see here we've got C4K. It's not referred to as DCI in this, just C4K. So we've got C4K, and then you can see we've got 4K as well. And you could see actually if we click on one of these, so if we go to, it doesn't matter which one, just 4K for example. If I take the lens cap off the camera, that might help. Bump the ISO up. You can kind of see where the edges are here, so just above and below. And then if we jump over to one of our C4K options, you can see we've got like a little bit more kind of letterbox in there. It's ever so slight, but you can just about see it in the preview. It does kind of jump up just ever so slightly. You can see it's pretty marginal, but it's sort of on the text there in this one and it's not in the other. So it is kind of there visually, but it's very, very minor. And basically, if in some of the options on this, so if we come into ProRes for example, this is the main thing why people ask, and you know, because right here, sorry, I keep losing the menu, we've got the 5.7K option, and then we've got a C4K, but then full HD, and we don't have any 4K options. And to be honest, I'm not totally sure what the sort of thinking behind that is, but essentially if you want to shoot ProRes in the camera, or even over SSD, it's all the same, you'll need to be using C4K. So essentially what that means is if you want to mix it with any 4K footage, or even mix it with HD footage, you're going to need to correct that aspect ratio, which essentially all it means is you're just going to have to be cropping the edges off. So if you're shooting in this, just make sure there's nothing right on the edges of the frames where you know you want to kind of keep that in shot, or it's anything sort of anything that you really need to be there, like the subject. You know, if you're framing the subject right on the side of the frame, just be aware that you may actually have to crop that out. So it's just something to keep in mind really. But yeah, I'm hoping in future updates, like firmware updates, we'll actually get some 4K options, because it would be a lot easier. It's not the end of the world just having to crop the edges off, but you know, it's much neater if you can actually compose shots in the camera and you can shoot to, you know, the actual mode you want to. So yeah, fingers crossed that will kind of come later down the line. But yeah, hopefully that sort of explained it. And if you found this useful, give the video a like. If you want to see more content like this, then please subscribe to the channel.